Okay, good evening. It being after 6 p.m., I'll call this June 8th meeting of the North Brookfield Board of Selectmen to order. You please join me in saluting the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. First order of business is the approval of minutes from the executive session of March 16th, 2021.
So moved. Second.
Motion made, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next, approval of the warrants. I'll entertain a motion to approve payroll warrant number 25 for $421,550.43. Debt warrant number 1064 for $21,286.80. School warrant number 1065 for $165,430.06. Cdbg number 1066 for $17,378.03. And general warrant number 1067 for $269,541.60.
So moved. Second.
Motion made, second. All in favor? Aye. Financial items. John, did you want to talk under financial items?
No, we can go to where I am,
Wait.
in new business.
All right, well, then moving along, we have no old business, right? No old business that I know of. So on to new business. John has some announcements on the town park.
So a couple weeks ago, in the new leader, Kevin Flanders came out and did a small interview with us about the new park downtown, the corner park. And I had a list of donors that I gave to him. He didn't have enough room in there to name all the donors that gave to the park and gave time, energy, resources, and whatnot. About half of them were left out, and I don't want to let anybody go by that doesn't get recognized for what they've donated, given to the town in monetary or physical donations. So here is the list of donors for the North Brookfield Park, down on the common here, right behind the sign. John and Mindy Tripp, we donated 2 tables, and of course, you know, a lot of time and finances came out of my pocket. Dale and Karen Kiley, Jason and Michelle Petritis. Bond Sand and Gravel gave us gravel, stone dust, and loam to finish the project. Fred Smith, trucking, screened the loom when we stripped the dirt out of there. We brought the dirt up there, and Freddie Smith screened it and brought it back to us. There was no stone in it or anything. It was perfect. So he screened the loom. Teco Block gave us about $5,500 worth of pavers. All the pavers that you see that make the walks were donated by Teco Block down on the East Brookfield Road. Used to be Chase Precast. Brian and Tara Hayes donated the Christmas tree in memory of their son. Pizza Palace, Stacy, right over here, fed the crew. While I was working, I'd go over there, get pizza, and she would not charge us. Brandon Avery, right here, moved a ton of blocks. Tina Floria moved a ton of blocks. Shay Fulgram, which is Tina's granddaughter, loaded wheelbarrows for us, and she filled in all the cracks on the ends with grout. Her and Tina did all that. Ernie Grimes wheeled a ton of stone dust for us. Rich Goodell, Paul Hargraves, Patrick Gustafson helped me with the electrical work. He ran the trencher for me. Sharon Donovan shoveled a lot of dirt into wheelbarrows for the guys to move around. Kenny Nye worked with us for a couple of days. Leo Egan was, he's the one that got us involved with Teco Block to get the blocks up there. Good guy. Matt Turkanian from Subway. Algu Convenience Store donated a bench. The benches were $5 1/4, and he gave us one of the benches. Richard Lee gave us money. Bill Scroble. Edie and Anzie Huback. Skip Carlson gave us grass seed. Bob Banton, a monetary donation. North Brookfield Liquor Store money. John and Carol Hawkins money. Jim and Lisa Grace donated a bench. Carol Ryback donated a bench. North Brookfield Police Department, the Police Association donated a bench. North Brookfield Highway did some trucking for me, and they did help me dig the fill out of there. Joe and Kim Holloway donated a bench. Jeff and Holly Smith donated money. Dennis and Carol Kelly donated a bench. Kathy St. Cyr donated a bench. Bill King helped me a couple of days and gave money. Alex Tripp, my son, helped me put all the picnic tables and all the benches together and brought them down with me on my trailer, and we put them where they had to be. Jason Benoit donated a lot. Howe Lumber gave us the lumber and the Trex decking for the electrical panel that you see there. Troy Brown did the electrical service on there and didn't charge us for it. Rexel Light and Supply gave us the flagpole light. That's a $300 light that shines on the flagpole. I buy stock from them all the time, and I was looking for the bill for 3 weeks, and I finally called them up. I said, "Where's the bill?" And they said, "John, it's on us." John Murphy donated. Amanda Hart just donated a picnic table, which is going to be the last piece of furniture we can put down there because we're out of room. She donated that in memory of her husband, John, who passed away a couple of years ago. Wayne Billette just made, I don't know if you just saw, there's a little lighthouse down there. Wayne Billette, he's a good friend of mine. He made the lighthouse and donated that. That's a few dollars right there because it's made out of AZAC board, which is going to last forever. Took me 6 hours to paint it, and I have it lit with solar-powered lights inside. It took about 7 months from start to finish, but right now the grass has been mowed twice. My wife and I put flowers down in there. I don't know if you saw them, but they're coming up pretty good. Tina and a couple of others go down and water it weekly. And I hope that you all enjoy the park. We'd just like to keep the cigarette butts at bay if possible. We don't want to make it a no smoking park, but if need be, we would have to do that. There's butt containers right by the walk, the railway there. Please put your cigarette butts in there. We have brass nameplates on the people that donated the benches. And right now, the park has been self-sufficient. It's been all done with donations at no cost to the town, other than a little bit of trucking that I had the highway do. And we're still, right now, we're about $4,000 in the hole. If somebody wants to donate money or whatever, that's where we're at. But the park is now done, other than a little bit of weeding that we have to do. I want to put a little more bark mulch in spots to cover up where we had done. But that's it for the park, and I hope you all enjoy it. And I think it came out pretty good. In 7 months, start to finish, I don't think it was too bad.
Can I make an addition? Envy helps the water brigade water the Christmas tree every single day for
Yep.
4.5 months last
Yep,
summer.
yep.
Well, thank you for that effort. I
That's-
mean, it's,
That's the park
know.
down there. So,
yep.
I have one other thing, if you don't mind. The rail trail. The crew and myself have worked tirelessly for the last 2.5 years on the rail trail. We've got almost the whole thing cleared. It's just about 4 miles. There's another little bit across Route 9 beyond the police station in East Brookfield. I think we're gonna hold off on because there's a bridge over there that it's in disrepair. I just started putting what I call the gates up, or the barriers. We started up here on Mill Street, and what it is telephone poles and a removable post in the middle. The removable post is painted safety yellow. It has reflective information on the post itself. It has a padlock at the bottom for the fire department, which I spoke to you the other day on Sunday. You and your buddy came over. We measured the ambulance. We measured you had the Humvee go through. I wanted to make sure that you guys had access to that. The police department, the fire department, highway department, and the rail trail crew will all have the combination to the lock. There's no unauthorized motor vehicles on there. And these posts were made locally. They were painted. There's 3 coats of paint on all these posts. I did them in my cellar. It took me 3 weeks to paint these things. There's 28 of them. The stickers that you see on there were donated by Randy Bodwin, North Country Signs, he's down at Country Auto. He used to have his own business. He's now in Country Auto. But I asked him to do that for me, and when he came out with the stickers, he said, here you go. Thank you. I borrowed a post hole digger from a friend of mine that goes on the front of my tractor, no cost to anybody. And we dug I've got 6 of them in now, and we're gonna work every Saturday that we can. Me and the crew, they come out, they're very loyal guys. They come out and they help me with all this stuff. And it's not costing the town anything. If you knew what I've paid to do this project and paint the townhouse and do the other projects in town, you'd actually be, I don't know what you'd be. But this is what's gonna happen. These posts, you can pick them up, you drive over it. National Grid's gonna have it too, because they have an easement for a certain section and they have to go down and maintain. So there's actually 4 entities that have the combination. But that's what that is. They're caution yellow or safety yellow, and the decals that you see on there are informative. The 1S or 2S means you're on section 1 north or section 1 south at the road crossing. And that will continue all the way down. I think there's 9 sections all the way down. It's hiking, biking, walking, cross-country ski, and horseback riding for right now. No four-wheelers, no motorcycles. Hopefully we can maintain that, but it says right on there, no unauthorized vehicles. We'd hope that you would maintain that. If you walk the trail, do it at your own risk, and be courteous to the others. If your dog makes a mess, please pick it up. You just need to scooch it off the trail, or your horse, the same thing, so nobody is walking in it. I made the gates so that the fire and safety could get through, and people walking with at least a double carriage could get by the gates. So that's what our intent was there. I've worked with Chief Smith, I've worked with the fire department. Chief Holloway knows all about it. I've showed him these gates and everything. So we're trying to cover all the bases here. I've tried to get good-looking telephone poles from the National Grid and Verizon, and I've came up with a bunch of these that Highway actually had. They're not so good-looking, but we can change them down the road, and that's that. So that's the rail trail. It looks like Matt Grant is having a good time. I don't see him here tonight, but he was here last week, and I know he rides the trail all the time. I've seen him down there, and it's actually got a picture of his bike on here next to one of the new gates. As far as, somebody asked me about the police cruiser in the back of the station here, and why it has a plate on it, and what it's costing for the town. That cruiser is off the road. It's not costing the town anything, and is sitting there waiting to be towed away. It's a junk car. It's not worth anything. It's not gonna be auctioned off. As far as I know, the police department is waiting for it to go away. So that's the story on the police cruiser.
Well, they're using it for parts. It's a parts car.
It's a parts car for the other 2, but it's really basically waiting to go away. Because we do have 2 other cruisers. They use them for detail work and stuff of the old Crown Vic style. As far as the budgets and the dump closing and the police and fire, at no time have I signed anything, or the other board members, of closing the dump, of shutting off the police department, or shutting off the fire department, or shutting anything off. We have not decided, as a board, of closing anything. The dump is not gonna be closed when everybody thinks it's gonna be closed. You guys are here tonight with a budget, and you're here to discuss the landfill. The same with the police and fire. We're working with all of these what do I wanna say?
Committees and boards.
Boards and committees. We're working with everybody to try to figure out how to maintain the budget with what we have. And it's like Dale said at the meeting, you have a bag of money, and these are my words, you have a bag of money, when the bag is empty, there's no more money in the bag to spread out. So we're asking people to make cuts. If people don't make the cuts, the boards have to make the cuts. We have finance committee here, we work with the assessors, with the treasurer and the accountant. All of these budgets and everything have to be figured out. We do this every year. This is the 4th year I've been on this committee, on the Board of Selectmen. The first year I was kinda, I didn't understand the budgets because I was brand new. The second year and third year, I got in on the information, and I try to help these guys, and they help me figure out what that is with the budgets. for people to come out and say, call Ashley and send her notes and get a GoFundMe page. We're not at that point right now. We're at the point of talking with these department heads and figuring this thing out. I'm sorry, but getting a GoFundMe page or saying the dump's gonna close, I want my $30 back, that's not the time for that right now. No decisions have been made. That's kind of all I've got. Sorry if I went too long.
Yeah. Well, there's no money going back to anybody. I mean, even if we did, and we're not, we haven't discussed it, and it's kind of premature because we have to wait to see how much free cash we get to balance out. But we had $7.3 million from the Department of Revenue. That's what they told us we could use in our budget. And that's from a recap sheet that the accountant has to prepare every year. And it's based on 2%, 2.5% over personal property and real estate taxes from the prior year. So it's an ongoing from a year prior to the next year to the next year. So the Department of Revenue in October, almost at the same time that we do our free cash, will tell us how much we have to reserve to balance out. Now, we do see extra revenues throughout the year, but we can't use them in the appropriation because we don't know if we're going to see the same the next year. I mean, it may go down. So in October and November is when we will have another special town meeting. And if our free cash doesn't cover the shortage, then we're going to have to make additional cuts. And it's at that point that all these things will be on the table. So between now and October and November, Finance Committee and the Board of Selectmen will determine a priority list based on how much we think we need to cut and what services in town need to be cut. So the dump is not closing tomorrow or the end of June. And if it does eventually get closed, and I'm not saying it even is, it wouldn't be until October, November anyway, if it were to happen. So people jumping up and down a little premature, I think.
Well, I just thought we should nip this in the bud before it goes too far, because
So can we talk about it then?
we can discuss it. We'll sit with you guys, we'll sit,
I
we've
just
sat
wanna-
with
I just wanna make
highway,
it clear
we've
that-
sat with police. Nothing was determined that you guys
I
were
understand, but
closing.
there was- but there
Somebody
were
down
things
at
that
the dump said,
There-
and they put it on a whiteboard to inundate our administrative assistant with letters and stuff. It's uncalled for. It's not the
Yeah.
time for that.
Well, we were told, you know, the.
By who?
By who were you told what?
Who told you that we were closing the dump on June? I'm just asking, because you say we were told. None of
At
us told you
meeting, and
that.
that's the first time that I hear that the transfer station's on the table.
That was on at least 2 meetings ago. You had read the list.
What meeting?
Board of
Board of
Selectmen.
Selectmen.
Nobody
meeting.
tells us.
Come to the
I'm not
meetings.
coming to the meetings.
Well, okay,
I know that you
but
spend a
don't
lot of
say-
time, listen.
Don't say that you didn't know it, because it's been in the minutes, it's on the thing, everything is wide open.
I understand, but, you know, I have conversations with you every 10 days, right? I mean, you know, we can, and it's cordial, and everything's fine.
Yep.
Right? So just give me a heads up. I mean, I've been putting in a lot of hours for the town
I
in
appreciate
the
it.
past
I
year.
appreciate
Well,
it.
hold on.
And I love
And I have to go, I have to leave this meeting and go to another meeting.
Yeah.
Okay? So, and I have stuff going on in my own life that there's no time to stay on top of all this. Okay? So a little heads up or what have you, is fine, okay?
Well-
We'll just make a little better effort.
Yeah,
That's all.
but to be fair, also, fire department wasn't told that they were losing,
But I
Please
can't
file
control,
with
I
it.
can't control the communication between the fire department and whatever.
but Trevor, money out cannot exceed money in. So
I
when
totally
we're
understand.
faced with a crunch, we have to look for places to cut. So these things are on the table, and all we said was they were on the table,
Well,
so.
That's all it was, nothing was said final.
well, there was
Absolutely wasn't.
also said that the transfer station cost the taxpayers $75,000 at
Yeah,
that meeting.
about that.
That's not true.
This year it did. Well, Here's what I got to say about that.
Because we show a profit.
No, you don't. But if that's the case, there's been at least two.
Can I just ask you one question? Are you including the landfill costs with that?
No, transfer station.
Well, we have our numbers. We're $600 over if you don't include what the town brings in, which is like 2 dump truck fulls and anything else that's found on the road, the hazardous waste from the town and everything else, which we don't charge the town for, obviously, because it's a,
Right.
there are
And John Alphin made this argument 2 years ago in front of this very board, and he made that argument in front of Jim Caldwell when he was on the board, and each time we've offered to make it an enterprise fund. You don't want to do that, for
Well,
whatever reason.
I haven't
So-
done.
Could I ask you, Dale, I think I sent a letter this morning with like just a couple budgetary items on it. Did you have the chance to?
I
take a
did,
look?
yeah, I have it. Yep.
I'm just curious, so this is my first time going through this budget, so I, is there an error? Maybe, but I don't understand how you're seeing that this is costing the town anything, whereas the numbers that I have from the town, from Sheila, the accountant, indicating revenue and expenses show that we're in the black.
Well, that may be true after the case, but if that's the case, then become an enterprise fund.
I don't
Running
know
it as
anything about
enterprise
that.
fund.
I'm just telling you now that
And
we're
then-
not losing money, and we haven't for like 6 years. So I don't know anything about the enterprise fund. If that's something to look into, let's look into it.
Well, I took the proposed budget, and are you using numbers from right now?
This year.
This, the FY '21, and I
Right.
projected the last.
Well, we
month of
just
this
signed a
year.
contract with Casella, in which you represented was going to be, the money that you have in there right now for the budget, it's not going to fund that, right? So we have 90,000,
Right.
and you're projecting 120,000 or
No,
so.
like 110, right?
All right, 110, plus our haulage fees are going up, right? So
No,
our
that's all,
per
that's
ton,
included.
That's in the contract.
That's in that contract.
so you're projecting that the,
That doesn't, so if, so as I understand it, the money that would be appropriated for that, the additional money would stop us from scrambling around from whatever, pulling from other line items in our budget. Like this year, we have some extra in salary because we didn't run 4 on Saturdays because we had the roll-off, right? So there's some money that I can meet that expectation. But the revenue stream is still the same. It's still solid. And we can always increase things like the bag fees or fees for
Right.
mattresses. And we're gonna, like, we're looking at doing the mattress recycling. That could save us probably $75 a load.
but if you take it off of the general budget, like the water department and the sewer department, and you take in enough money to run that, then you could run it as an enterprise fund, and we wouldn't have these arguments or issues or discussions. It would be just, you guys run off your user fees, whatever the fees
And
are.
I think maybe that's something to look at. I don't know anything about the mechanism for that, but.
But then you
besides-
set your own user fee too, so
No,
if
you
you're,
set
an
it
no,
with
we
us.
do now, but
Right.
not as an enterprise fund.
Right.
If you were an enterprise fund, then you would set your user fees because the users would, like,
I mean, that's something we can explore, certainly, right? I'd like to see examples of it in other communities that would be analog to us, right? To make sure that we're making the right decision.
Well,
But,
yeah.
but I'm just, but the point being is that, if I just wanted to make sure that we're keeping the landfill separate from transfer, okay? The transfer station is paid for by subscribers, all right?
and what's the landfill, is just the cap.
The landfill is the cap, but there's expenses for maintenance, there's
Oh, yeah, I
expenses
didn't
for
include those.
upkeep
Yeah, yeah.
and.
Yeah, no, 'cause that's an
testing.
ongoing thing.
Testing's
Right.
very expensive.
Yep.
So
See,
I,
Trevor, what this is doing, it's getting us to understand you, and you're understanding us, where we don't have this back and forth. We haven't had it for 3 years. Now, if we can do
Well,
this,
actually, longer
let's
than
do
that.
it. Well, let's do
but
it.
I
This is
speak to
good.
Dale every 10 days, or so,
Yeah.
right? But, and let's just continue to do that, because I don't have the time to come in. I just don't.
Yeah, understand.
And I've got other stuff to do. Like I said, I'm going to Concom because I finally got DEP permits for the swales after 5 years. But I have to go through Concom. If I have the engineer do it, it's gonna cost us more money. So, you know, however you came to that figure, you know, it sets off alarm bells and what's gonna happen, right?
No, but
here we are.
But
So-
we recognize, right, that it's a revenue stream. So if we
It
do
is,
close it,
and it
we
can
cut
be
off a
tweaked.
revenue stream.
Right.
So we understand that.
Right.
So, but there's just, our budget
I
does
get it.
not have a lot of padding in it.
I get it.
Anywhere. So when you're looking to offset $383,000,
Sure.
there's gonna be a lot of chipping away at small things to get to that amount. So,
Right, but if you close it, right, then we end up in a situation where now you gotta get rid of your hazardous waste somewhere, you gotta get rid of those tires somewhere, you gotta get rid of all the trash. And I mean, we don't weigh it. We do take pictures when we can of what the town brings in. I mean, Jason has access to it after hours and stuff does show up. It's fine. You know, that all goes in the hopper without purple bags. We should be really working on things like the town hall, doing more recycling and making sure that when the guys are picking it up, it's being recycled. That weight goes into that hopper, bye-bye money. That's you know, that's where it goes. And the subscribers are the ones that are subsidizing that. When somebody picks up a couch off of Murphy Run or Monster Bridge, yep, I'm that old. I didn't say Czechoslovakia, it was Czechoslovakia in your day.
This alley,
So,
yeah. Sorry.
You know, when those come through from, you know, the highway picks them up, they bring them to us. The users are who absorbs that cost for the town. You know, a lot of people don't realize that. So there's a benefit to the town as an entity to having it open. You know, at the end of the day, it's a hell of a lot easier for me, right? I can be like, see you later.
Well, if you guys
But-
can get the swales and the cap done, we still have that solar people
I
that
got-
wanna
I-
come.
He's
And
working on it.
As soon as it gets
I've been
done,
working on it for 5 years.
I will
now.
attest to that. There has
I
not
have
been
been working
any,
on it for 5 years.
there's been no
I can't-
dragging of
it's-
Trevor's feet.
correct.
It's
Correct.
DEP, I've gone through 2 engineers.
Yep.
DEP did not want to do it the way we wanted to do it. The way we want to do it is to keep our maintenance costs at a minimum, right? And so, when this is done, we'll be able to mow inside those swales. But I'm looking at, I would like to get it done in August.
Let's move it on if we can. If I can help you in any way, let me know. I'll be up there.
All right. So,
So we're cool?
Yeah, we'll
Everything's
make,
good?
yeah, everything's good.
All right, well, let's stay in touch because.
Well, tell your people at the dump.
Well, you know, I had to go down on
Nobody said.
Saturday morning and tell them, I don't know if you got a job.
Yep.
Right? Like, it's all, I know it's not fun and games, because it was an awful meeting. But, you know, somebody has to go tell those people that I don't really know what plans you need to make, right?
But we
You know,
don't know.
Those are tough conversations to have.
We don't know where the money's coming from. It's gotta come from somewhere. So,
I agree, that's why we raise revenue.
yeah. No, and that's the other.
And the thing at the end of the day is that if it will cost, I mean, have an accountant look at it. Bob did the numbers, Ethan redid them to double check. Bob did them 2 years ago, Bob Lopatelli.
Yeah.
You know, because that was the thing, like, you know, John certainly always was an advocate for saying that it was always in the black. And at one point, it was way in the black because of the recycling. Because there was a good market for what we were
Plastics
producing.
and- yeah.
Now it's a lot less, right? So anyways, we're not as in the black, but if it closes, it's a significant increase in cost to the town in terms of getting rid of, you know, that.
Understood. So we'll have a meeting.
Okay.
We'll get together, we'll crunch it. And the other part of the conversation is fees. We could raise fees across the board. I mean, it's not just recycling. I mean, we got dog licenses haven't gone up, and I can't tell you how long, marriage licenses. I mean,
Some of them we try and work to be, well, most of them we try to work to be neutral, right? like what it costs us plus the load.
Mhm.
Right, so like electronics are very costly, that's why when people come down, they, you know, they're like, I got a 42-inch TV, well, it's 42 bucks to get rid of. So,
Yeah, but we don't want to scare people away either, right? If you depend on the user, you can't overprice it so that
no,
they
no, I'm
go
fine
get
with
somewhere
that,
else.
yeah,
So
and
I mean,
but I don't even think that we need to, I think we need to go through one cycle here, see exactly where we are with the new contract and what's going on, but, you know, we also, because of the new billing system, we have a lot of people cheating. You know, and it's really hard to enforce apartment owners. Like some people show up with a truck full of purple bags and they ain't recycling. So by rights, we can, as part of the agreement, we can open up their bags and look, right? I've been unpopular enough in this town for a while, so I don't need to do that right now. But they're all, and like the bags are a 30-pound limit. You know, some of these people are like East German shot putters putting that stuff in there. It's you know, it ain't 30 pounds.
Put 3 tires in one of them bags.
Right.
all right, so we'll have a meeting, we'll
All right.
hash it all out and we'll figure it
So
out.
can you take care of that down there? For-
Take
for
care of it,
Board
7 a.m.
Yeah.
For the Board of Selectmen?
7 a.m.
We just don't need the heat.
Thank you.
Thanks, Trevor.
Thanks,
Appreciate it.
Trevor.
All right. Now on to something a little more on the bright side of things. We have fire department here for an appointment. Chief?
I found out a couple days before Joe went on vacation, he didn't tell me, so.
Oh, so you're on the spot.
I'm like, well, you gotta give Chief a little more notice. I told him 2 weeks ago. Okay, so I just get the short
Well, I
notice.
hope you're the
But you
yin to
know how
his
Joey
yang.
starts his conversation?
I'll always be
brief.
short.
Yeah.
Well, we're kinda known as, it's good chief, bad chief. He takes you for
Good.
the coffee, the donuts, I'm the one to come on. We gotta get this done, you gotta get your paperwork signed, you gotta get the ethics done and everything like that. But, we've had an opening since previous administrators had left and Joe moved up to chief and I went up to deputy chief. We had the assistant chief spot's been open for a couple of years because we just didn't have anybody, as we spoke to you guys, ready to take on that role. We've been pushing our officers very hard, usually because of me, because I'm the one pushing them and Joey's buying them coffee and donuts. And trying to find out who was gonna step up. And we opened it up. And we had 3 candidates that had applied, and we met with all 3 of them. And I'm proud to say that we're going to, with your approval and appointment tonight, promote Keith Marshall from Captain of Fire Prevention to the Assistant Chief for the North Brookfield Fire Department.
All right. Finance committee, was that discussed? We discussed that, right?
Yes.
And that was all set through finance, right? So we're good on that. So I'll entertain a motion.
I move to appoint Keith Marshall to Assistant Fire Chief.
Second.
All right, motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? Anybody opposed? What's that? If anybody knows why this should not take place, speak now. There you go.
Well, you marry the fire department, right? So
Yeah, that's on my website.
All right, motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Congratulations.
Now stand up and take a bath.
You guys also know, right, about the weekend shift and stuff for now. So come off of the face thing for now.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't say, nothing's been said.
I-
We only had one person that didn't understand what the
Yeah.
weekend shifts were, and I took a very long time to man it, and we're gonna even, you know, we've always offered, it's right on the town
Yeah.
website about the shifts when they are, and people are more welcome to come down anytime to see and talk to us.
Yeah.
But anybody that sees this meeting tonight will see it as it actually is with the budgets and whatnot, and the decisions that have not been made on these issues.
Yeah.
John, did you call it the face thing?
Yeah, I don't go.
You got that?
My wife has an account
Bridging the
there.
gap to the youth.
Yeah,
My
he's
wife
like-
has an account, once in a while she goes on, she came to me livid this afternoon, I was working on a tractor part, she came outside livid about something about the rail trail, and I had to respond, I just
And you're
couldn't
still
take it
livid.
anymore. I'm still going, and
Yep.
she's still on fire at home, so.
We can tell John.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, when she's on fire, I'm on fire. And neither of us have to be like that, but I just couldn't take it anymore, so.
He's like Justice Thomas on the Supreme Court, doesn't say a word for 10 years, all of a sudden you can't keep quiet.
Don't poke the bear, I'm sorry.
Dale.
I do
Can I
apologize
ask a quick
for anybody
question?
out there.
Sure.
Is the budget still in a process?
Yeah, it's a process through November, actually, is
Thank you.
the process.
That's, see, I understand, but from when it first all began, back to January, this is all a process and steps are taken and
Yeah.
things are moved from here to there as money comes in, you can spread it out.
And it'll
But I
be-
think a lot of the residents don't understand, it's all a process, it's not a set in stone.
Well, yeah, and part of the process, and part of why, you know, it moves in big swings like that is how much the finance committee and the board and and Sheila now, the town accountant, who is like on this thing, like no other accountant. I mean, Nancy was very good, but she wasn't as vocal at these meetings like Sheila was. She didn't come and say, hey, we can't do this. And it's all about how much you project into the future. And the state will only allow you to go to the recap number. So when we go to the town meeting, there's this big ebb and flow of how much we can afford to go in upside down. And this is the first year we tried to present a balanced budget. Every other year, we've gone in upside down by 100 and 120. And there were some years, Eric can tell you, we were nervous that free cash wasn't going to cover our limited upside downness, right? So now you dip into stabilization money, which affects the ISO that Joey was concerned about, and it affects our ability to borrow. And some of the numbers that Sheila gives us is, okay, how much do we think we'll have in free cash so that the state will certify our tax rate in November? Because if we don't balance out in November, they won't certify our tax rate. We can't send out tax bills, and then revenue coming in stops.
Yeah.
And if we have to go into stabilization, we have what, 900,000-ish in stabilization. And if we're upside down by 400,000 and we have to go to stabilization and that's where they take it from, you're gonna only do that 2 times, and then that third year when you don't have stabilization, you don't have any place to take it from, the state's gonna come in on a conservatorship and start running your town like they do to the school system in Southbridge, so.
So stabilization to a resident mind would be their savings account. And they work on their regular budget, and sometimes it's a little bit over, you can go in and dip into your savings to help
Right.
balance your home budget.
Exactly right.
But there's only so much, once you take it out, until you can start putting it back in, if you run out of your savings, now you're really in trouble. And that's
Well, that changes your bond rating too.
Yes,
Or if
it-
you
oh,
wanna
it
take loans
affects
out to
everything.
buy things,
Yep,
you know, that necessary for the town.
Yep.
You know, you don't have that A rating or AAA, whatever, the less you have, because they don't see that you have money to back it up,
right.
is what it is.
Yeah, so hopefully, we have until October and everybody will hold their breath, but I mean, and that's why some of the numbers, like you see, okay, we brought in revenues 7.7 million. In our budget, what we could appropriate was 7.4. So you got 300,000 potentially in free cash. So we're upside down by 383,000, which is the last number I heard. Free cash isn't gonna meet that, so you're gonna be taken from somewhere, either cuts or stabilization. And at this point, we're not inclined to go into stabilization, so we'll make it up with cuts. That's what we plan on doing anyway.
One other thing that I think bears mentioning on this too is, you know, we talk about the budget going through November, it actually goes right through next May.
Yep.
So
That's true.
when they made the amendment to one of the motions on Friday night, they moved that money be taken from the general insurance. Okay, now
Can
what
you
happens with
explain
that
what that
is,
is, yeah.
the reason she said it happens all the time is because we have to insure, make sure we have money to insure everybody on the payroll. Sometimes some of those people get it from someplace else, maybe their spouse works somewhere else, or they have their own plan that they like, whatever, and we end up with a little money left over, and that's why you see money moved from that to other accounts to balance things out at the end of the year. And now, if we take that from there, it's not going to be there to do that again, if we can. If everybody decided to take the town's insurance, well, we'd be screwed.
Yeah, that also
Now you'd be
covers,
short.
yeah, that also covers uninsured deductibles, like if a cruiser gets in an accident.
Yep.
We have MIA.
Maya, M-I-I-A.
That's our insurance carrier, right? We get townwide insurance policy and stuff like that. And we just had an incident where a town vehicle did get hit, and we have to pay the copay.
Yep.
The deductible, so
Yes.
deductible. So that covers those things. And you never know how many of those you're gonna get.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things that we're gonna have to watch closely. And like Jason says, it goes into next May or June, because we did 2 months ago put a freeze on everything that people could spend, and they had to get pre-approval from finance and board of selectmen before they could spend money, because we thought we were gonna.
So when you all take a little bit out, you already know everybody has done, you know, these ones need to be insured, these ones have their own insurance, we do have this extra money. But what happened at the meeting was, we just want money out of that account without knowing what's gonna be left at the end of it.
Right, and that might be a shortfall coming into the end of the year, because typically
Yeah.
some of these accounts don't get spent out until May or June.
Yeah.
Like big chunks of it, insurance is due at certain times of the year. So
It's all
that may be
fluid.
fun. Yeah. All right, let's go. Next, CDBG contract amendment.
I told you about it a little bit this morning, but we have the FY '20 CDBG grant. And when we originally applied for it, back before COVID, prices were obviously low. They've gone up, so the price to fix the senior center roof and the flooring has gone up, so they want to amend the contract to move some money from the housing side of it over to the senior center side of it.
Okay. And this is all grant money,
All
it's
grant
not town money,
No
so.
town money, no.
Yeah.
We had moved some of that to the,
That was the
New model.
FY '19.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
moved some from the
for the
West Side
homeless- for the
Infrastructure
homeless
Study
folks.
over to the home.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, so now we're
yeah, for the next grant, we're moving it in the opposite
back to
direction.
the senior center.
Mm-hmm.
The senior center needs a roof and flooring and heating system repair, I think, or something over there.
That's not part of the grant, I don't
No.
believe.
Was it
no.
just the roof and the floor?
Just the roof and the floor, and there was a window that they were gonna look into if there was enough money left, which obviously there's not going to be
Okay,
at this
well,
point,
the roof
so.
is important.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm seeing a motion.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, and on to Town Beach.
Okay.
Town Beach.
You want me to start that?
Yeah, that's your
All right.
agenda.
So, we've been having a lot of trouble at Town Beach with tons of people that aren't from North Brookfield or East Brookfield going there. And at one point over the weekend, I was told there were close to 300 people at the beach, and quite a few boats that were out there on the island or whatever. But we've had, our town beach committee has discussed things with East Brookfield's beach committee, and they're having some difficulty connecting on some of the issues. And one of them is that a majority, I guess, of East Brookfield's beach committee doesn't see a need to limit it to North Brookfield and East Brookfield residents. And if we plan on just North Brookfield and East Brookfield residents being at the beach, then, you know, we've got limited resources when it comes to like the outhouses, taking care of the beach itself, the electricity, whatever is down there. And if you inundate it with, or 225 people, say, from the surrounding area, and I've heard that people come from Springfield and Worcester to the beach, and even further, actually. We're posed with a problem, and we don't have any real means of the police department, either in North Brookfield or East Brookfield, citing the people that don't belong there. So I think that if we could do it, I think a bylaw stating that only North Brookfield and East Brookfield residents would be allowed at the beach, with a fine involved, might be pertinent at this time.
Yeah, I think we need to meet with East Brookfield because to do that, we would need a reciprocal one on their end to enforce it.
How can we do a bylaw if we don't own the property?
It's still in North Brookfield.
It's North Brookfield property.
But they,
Bylaws affect
I don't know how they.
property located in our
So
town.
they actually own the property in Northbrook. I
Yeah.
went over this before, I just don't
Yeah.
understand it. So
They
they
own the
own the
parcel.
sand
If-
and the beach area.
If you violate a bylaw on your property, the town can fine you.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
If
if
it's
somebody
in
violates a
Brookfield, We
bylaw,
can make the bylaw.
yeah.
yeah. And it's pursuant to an agreement, and there's another agreement here. I'm looking at one that's just the agreement, mutual agreement between the towns, joint agreement, under a general law that 4040A. There's another one in here that talks about paying for the different things that each town will pay for and how the things will be split and stuff like that. Have you seen that one in the file?
No, I'll look for it though.
I think I have a copy. I'll make sure I bring it in because I think we need to meet with the East Brookfield Board of Selectmen because our beach committee tried to attend their recreational committee and they are absolutely vehemently opposed to stickers and they're opposed to any enforcement to make it North Brookfield and East Brookfield only. They don't want to enforce it. It's just,
But they want a police department down there
yeah,
to
to police it.
keep things going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we need to talk to East Brookfield's Board of Selectmen.
I sent them an email today
Yeah,
to try to set up a meeting.
okay. And then,
Can we still get the ball rolling?
I think bylaw, yeah. Yep, I think so.
Okay.
I don't see why not.
All right.
You got one written out, Jason?
Huh?
Did you write one out?
Well, we can't do it for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
so
so-
next meeting,
Yeah.
have the bylaw language.
Yep.
We'll approve the bylaw language and put it on a warrant for vote 2 weeks later.
Okay. Sounds good.
I think we can do that. That's 14, we have to post for 14 days, so if we make the warrant, actually, if you want to circulate language, we can
Okay.
vote on the warrant Tuesday, make the vote. We'll call a special town meeting for like
3 weeks.
2 weeks and 2 days later. or
Don't
something
forget
like
Tara's going out with knee replacement surgery, so.
that. Yeah, she doesn't,
She doesn't need to be there.
yeah, we've done
We'll do it-
these.
we'll do it here.
Yeah, we've done them here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Good. Anything else to be said on that issue? Anybody?
Have you heard from Brooks Pond yet?
I haven't heard.
No, that's a good thing. 'Cause
Yeah.
it's been hot.
Yeah, I know.
And they were inundated last year.
Has anybody been over there?
I haven't been up.
You drive over that way?
It was packed on
Were
Saturday.
they parking in the streets and stuff like that
Everywhere.
again?
They were up the road and everything?
Everywhere.
Yeah.
All
I'm
right.
surprised we didn't get a call because,
We'll have the chief
yeah.
repost that. And the one other thing, did you want to do the FinCom appointment tonight, or do we want to wait on that? Bob Locatelli, moving the permanent member to,
If you have that in front of you.
we don't have a letter from the finance committee or anything, but I know that you guys approved that.
Yeah, we'll get it to you, you can do it the next
Okay.
meeting.
All right, so, public comments, anybody? Something? Yes?
Hi, Sue Lewandowski, 2 Air Street. Now that the school has been funded and we do have setbacks in several of the other departments, what can be done to raise additional funds? What other methods to raise funds can be done from community members? Because, you know, even though I voted for the school, I also don't want to see the fire department get cutbacks, or the police department, or any other department. What can we do to energize the community to step up and do the best we can to not see cutbacks in these important?
Well, I mean, people can donate. The problem is that it's an ongoing cascading problem. So people can donate to get us out of trouble this year. The problem's going to exist next year and then the year after. And it's going to compound. So it's not going to be, so if we're short 383 this year, and if we do the same thing next year, it's going to be 720,000 or some factor above the 383. It's just a cascading problem. So that's why towns are limited to the revenue calculations that the state imposes on us. So when we say that 7.3 is our number, that's because the state tells us that's our number. So anything over that has to come from revenues that we've acquired that aren't in their calculations, which we do get, which is why, you know, the numbers are higher consistently, but not as high. So it's a dwindling, everything's kind of coming towards the middle. But we're open to anything. I mean, if people want to make donations, like John has done so many projects around town, almost all on donations of time and labor and money and in-kind type stuff. Like, other than that, I mean, we're open to suggestions if you have them.
Well, I think that it's important, instead of people just sitting there on Facebook complaining about the outcome and all the cuts, that we take the initiative, even if it's an ongoing problem, at least we could come together and do something really important for the community to try to heal this gap and to understand each other, where they're coming from, and move forward from here on in. And I mean, I'm happy to meet with someone. I retired last week and I've been sick for all but 2 days.
Congratulations.
So I have a little more time now to even come to meetings. But I mean, as emergency management, I work with the police and the fire department, and I know how wonderful they are and how important they are. And I can't just sit back and watch these cuts happen without doing something. And I think it could really do some healing in the town. And so I will think about it, and I'd like to, and maybe I'll start coming to as many meetings as I can so I have a better grasp of all of this. But I think we should do something for our town.
Yeah, I mean, we can always use it somewhere, you know, whatever is generated.
So we're short 383,000, is that the figure?
That's the last number I got from the town accountant after plugging in everything that was voted on the other night. And that's 383,000 short from what the state tells us, and what so the state tells us a number, and then we add in projections that we think we can make. Like the assessors told us we had $200,000 in solar fields that were coming off of payment in lieu of taxes plan and going to the regular taxation under the personal property taxing. So that's going to give us 200,000, but that's a one-time shot. That's what we have this year, and then going forward, it's going to come in as personal property taxes, but not at that amount because it's a dwindling type revenue, because it's devaluation, right? So it dwindles, but so we get that influx, and those are the kind of things that we say, okay, we know we're going to get that, so we incorporate that into what our projections are. And then there are some things that we don't see that we do get, but we don't know those until after the fact, and that's why it comes back to us in October. So that's kind of how the process works. And it's very fluid, and we never know what numbers we have, and then all of a sudden, like last year, all of a sudden, the school choice out numbers took a bump, and that threw everything off, so, you know, that's the kind of stuff that happens, so. Anything else? Anybody else?
We're
Yeah.
also just coming out of the pandemic and the economic ups and downs from that. Do we see that maybe things will start settling out as we go further away from it?
Yeah, absolutely. So, interesting note, I saw that the state reported a $3.3 billion surplus in revenues that they weren't expecting. So, I'm not sure how that translates to local communities, but I know we got less in Chapter 70, we got less in government aid through the cherry sheet stuff, so I don't know how that's gonna shake out. The ARPA money, I applied for the town just today. And the ARPA money is 1.4 million. Some of it's coming from the county money because we don't have counties, so they're recalculating that and giving it out to the towns. But the first influx is like 500,000. And it can only be used for specific things, and I had to sign some certification thing that we were going to comply with the federal rules, so.
When they come up, I mean, with them finding all that money, I have to relate it to something I understand, like fuel assistance. At the beginning of the year, we get an amount. This is how much money you'll have for fuel assistance through the year. Then at the end of the year, I mean, you could be already used it all up, but at the end of the year, when their budget stuff all falls into place and they see they have a surplus, all of a sudden the families will get a little bit more, you know, just a little tip off on their tanks that'll take them through the summer.
Yep.
I think that happens like in April. Is it something like that where they found this money, it's possible that now they might disperse it?
So the ARPA money you're talking about?
Or no, the 3.3 billion or million, whatever.
Oh, from the state?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the state's gonna do.
Or they might just line their own pockets.
Yeah,
and
I'll
go
ask.
on- go to-
495 in east.
They can take meat away.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they did just dish out some big money to 3 big cities, some kind of COVID-related thing that they recalculated. I saw that the other day. So it's possible. I don't know what they're gonna do. We don't know what they're gonna do.
We never do.
So, yes.
I know, just in Canada, Gilbert Street, we are working pretty hard with the state representatives to try to get the whole formula recalculated for the rural town, because the cities get everything with the numbers that they have for the schools, and it's just, when you look at like the numbers that become available to them, and then the state mandates that are made by observations of the city schools, it puts us in such a bind. So they're actually trying to push and it's coming from all the way out to, you know, Pittsfield and stuff. I mean, these towns, once, like John said, once you get outside of 495, all of a sudden it's like we don't matter.
Yeah.
Did you guys get $20 a couple of years ago added?
Yeah.
It was like $20. Everybody else got hundreds, and I think we got $20. I remember that number.
The numbers are really, and you look at like the way they factor almost everything else, when the state does its own budget, although they apparently missed $3 billion this year, which is a little disturbing, but we're advocating with the state reps and that, just to try to reformulate how they do. I mean, I've been doing a lot of research on some of these other small town schools where they joined a region and they just abandoned the elementary school entirely because they were in a region and they had 7 kids and the kids are all in different grades, and you can't do like a one-room schoolhouse anymore.
Yeah.
So they would just send them the next town over. So you're in first grade going next town over to go to school.
That's not good.
And you look at some of the numbers and it's not sustainable for the stuff that the state says, hey, you need to do this. Also, here's your $20 to go do that. So there's a big push right now just to get the whole formula recalculated for when you get to these towns, and and we're unique as it is because we're not a district. I mean, we're working on that, but that's gonna take a little while, so.
Yeah,
It's
and
just-
that leads us to the unfunded mandates that the state by statute is
Yeah.
not supposed to impose on towns, and it's not just the school, there's a ton of unfunded mandates all
That's
throughout
like
town.
the sewer thing, right?
Yeah, stuff like that.
Yeah,
And
but
so,
they base on cities and then they're like,
yeah,
and they assume everyone else can just handle it.
yeah, and Jason's been pretty hot on the unfunded mandate stuff, trying to identify all the unfunded mandates and like how much it's really costing us, and
Yeah.
so. All right, anything else? I mean, I don't want to cut anybody short, but we do have an
Yeah.
exec session to get into, so.
Yeah, we have an executive session supposed to start a minute ago. so.
Yeah.
Oh,
All right. So if nobody has anything else, I'll entertain a motion to enter executive session.
So moved. Second.
And we'll only reconvene to adjourn, so.
Jason Petrides, yes.
Dale Kiley, yes.
John Crick, yes.
Great.
y'all send
Good night,
me out
everybody.
to that
Thank you.
parade.